Very quick reminder, I'm only going to be 37 for a few more weeks. So to celebrate, I'm offering a 37% discount on my Patreon from now until the end of October.
I'm here to say one more thing. I just had to drag my AC out of my car to my apartment building. 3 guys passed me. None of them offered to help. None. 0 out of 3. Why? Because you couldn't lift it? You were too scared to lift it? Is that why? Am I intimidating? Am I more masculine than you?
Okay, so she's mad that nobody stopped to help her, but she didn't ask for help. So let me get this straight. Men are under the obligation to help you, but you are not under the obligation to ask for help. Men are just meant to read your mind. Maybe you're so in your bubble that you haven't realized that in this culture, it is not safe for men to just walk up to women. Men aren't approaching women very much anymore, even to help, because, you know, the message that women have been telling men for so long is leave women alone. Doesn't matter if you're a good Samaritan, if your intentions are pure. Many women treat basic interaction as though it's harassment.
How y'all doing tonight, guys?
Get the fuck away from me!
God bless y'all.
And you've got women who are confused about why men aren't approaching anymore. I mean, is this really such a mystery? But if I showed this clip to that broken AC woman, she'd probably say, oh, well, I'm not like that. I wouldn't have responded that way. Well, let's see. You felt entitled to male help. When you didn't get it, you immediately jumped to insults. You accused men of being scared of you and said that you are more masculine than they are. You are not an exception. You are exactly the kind of woman that men should be avoiding. And maybe there are some nice women who are not getting helped by male strangers, and that sucks for that individual. She doesn't deserve it, but I understand why men are just blanket checking out, because the rules and boundaries are shifting constantly. The expectations are not clear, and any moves that you make can be interpreted multiple ways. A lot of guys are just confused. They don't know what to do anymore. They're asking, what world am I living in? To answer that, we need to first look at where we came from, because there was a time where your role as a man was not up for debate. You're a man. You had a duty to be a man. She's a woman, she has a duty to be a woman. The role for each gender was completely clear, and so were the expectations for your behavior. So back then, if a man saw you struggling with something heavy, he wouldn't pause, he wouldn't overthink it or doubt himself. He would just jump in and help her out of instinct. It would be automatic because he's a man, that's his role. Back in the day, men were expected to take on the physical risks of society, do the dangerous jobs, the manual labor, fight in the wars. In emergencies, it was always women and children first. No question. And despite the way that feminists paint it, there were a lot of benefits for women. Men had the pressure of initiating all romantic interactions. They paid for dates, they bought the ring, they planned everything. And there was chivalry, carrying her bag, opening her door. And in that arrangement, women were provided for. If she is in the workforce, once she gets pregnant, it is expected that she will leave her job, that the man will step up and he will provide for both of them. The finances were not her responsibility. Homemaking and child raising were. But we don't live in that society anymore. That traditional system broke down. And there are various conspiracies and theories about why that happened, but let's just be generous in this video and say that through the ethos of individualism, this treatment of the genders as a monolith just could not be sustained. Some women want to be stay-at-home mothers, but others are more ambitious. They want to have a career. Some men love work, but others are more gentle and nurturing and they want to stay home and raise kids. The system was too rigid to allow for complete individual expression, and so it just broke. And to replace it, powerful voices in society started to tell us that we should treat gender as though it is a completely made-up construct. It's not relevant. And that's apparently where we're going. The narrative became that men and women are the same. Any differences that you observe are the result of socialization, how we raise boys and girls. It's got nothing to do with biology, and if there's discrepancies in outcomes between the genders, that's the result of discrimination, not natural sex differences. In this genderless utopia, nobody is boxed in with any gendered norms. Everybody is treated as an individual with equal opportunity. And to many people, this sounds like the most fair approach, because that way, if you've got a woman who's applying for a job in a traditionally masculine field, she's not going to be held back because of her gender. She's also freed from expectations that she should do certain tasks just because she is a woman. And so in the household, when it comes to cooking, cleaning, shopping, raising children, the expectation is that the man, the husband, the father, he does 50% of that. You can start to see why women preferred where we're going as opposed to where we came from. For promiscuous women, it's a godsend because now she can sleep with as many guys as she wants and there's no danger of being judged. And you know what? Once we get there might also be a bunch of benefits for men. Hey, maybe we don't have to initiate romantic interactions. We don't have to plan the dates. We don't have to pay for them. In fact, financial responsibility could be 50-50. Because why should that turn to a man? Gender is meaningless. Instead of bottling up their emotions and sacrificing so that they can provide for others, men can have meltdowns just like women do. We can be vulnerable without judgment, completely free from, masculine gender norms. But you see, it's actually when the benefits started to accrue to men that progress towards this genderless utopia, where we're going, that started to halt. You see, men started to indulge in some of the privileges that had previously just been reserved for women, and they didn't like that.
One thing about me, one thing I'm always going to do in a relationship is perpetuate double standards. And I want to make it exponentially clear so nobody misunderstands me. I only perpetuate double standards that benefit me. Sorry.
And that right there is the perfect encapsulation of where we are right now. So how do we define this third society, the one that we're actually living in? It's not a traditional world of fixed gender roles, but it's certainly not a genderless, egalitarian utopia either. It's a blend. It's a pick and choose reality. And in this hybrid system, sometimes gender and sex differences are very important. They are very real. And at other times, gender is completely irrelevant. It's not a factor at all, and there's something wrong with you if you bring it up. But then how do you know which standard to apply and when? How do you know whether or not you're a genderless individual or whether or not you're a man and she's a woman? Well, don't fret. It's not actually very confusing because the answer is always consistent. We always apply the standard that benefits the woman in that moment. That is the world that we live in. Think about the workforce. If a woman enters into a traditionally male-dominated career, she's going to make the argument that why shouldn't she do that? Gender is not important. She's an individual. Judge her based on her merit. But then hold on. She's just been told that there is a special advanced program, a scholarship of sorts that has been designed to boost women, to help women get further in their careers. And I guarantee that genderless ideology that she was spewing moments ago, that just gets thrown away. It's like, no, now I am very much a woman. When women want to be freed from expectations of motherhood and domestic duties, or if they want to be sexually liberated and sleep around, well then suddenly gender is not an issue. Don't place those expectations or those stigmas on her because she's a woman. No, we live in a genderless society. But if she's on a date with a man and then suddenly the question comes up as to who's going to pay the bill, or if there's manual labor to be done, physically dangerous work, or God forbid, an armed conflict breaks out, well, suddenly we're not in that genderless society anymore. No, suddenly she is a woman and you are a man and you have a duty and an obligation as a man. If you've ever heard people say that we live in a feminist society or that our culture is run according to the needs of the feminine imperative, this is what they're talking about. The total lack of a coherent set of rules, where the only consistency is that we bend in whatever direction benefits women. We are not living under any stable ideology. It's not traditional, like where we came from, and it's not egalitarian, like where we were promised that we're going. It's reactive. It's driven by emotion. And that's why men don't trust it. I don't understand why people are so confused about why men are checking out. The male backlash isn't random, and it's not toxic. It is entirely predictable and logical. It is the normal reaction of rational individuals to an irrational system. Men are wired to seek order, justice, consistency. The male brain looks for patterns because we want to understand the rules by which we're playing. So we're constantly scanning, like, what are the guidelines? What are the expectations? What are the punishments if I get something wrong? What's the reward if I do it right? But in this system where we live at the moment, there's no predictable pattern where a man is going to win. There's just contradictions and it's confusing. Approach that woman, offer your help and spin the wheel and you'll find out, are you a gentleman or are you a creep? Why would a man want to take that risk? Why would he want to play this game? The thing is that men can thrive in almost any system so long as it is clear. It doesn't need to be perfect. Men aren't allergic to hard work or sacrifice, but if they're going to be motivated to build and create and provide, they do need something solid, like a real foundation, something that they can trust, a system with rules, structure, and predictable outcomes. Now, in the traditional system where we came from, that was clear. You were a man and you knew what was expected of you. You have to be strong, you have to protect, you have to provide. You do all of that and your reward is a wife who appreciates what you've done, a home that's taken care of, children raised with good values. Your masculinity is honored. Yes, you work very hard, but your reward is gratitude and reciprocity because the woman is doing her duties. The two of you are a team. Now, I think that men could also equally adapt to this genderless utopia. So long as the rules were actually consistent, we could make it work. Okay, I'm no longer a man, I'm an individual. Okay, great. So 50% of the financial burden is now off me. That's awesome. Now I have to cook. That's all right. Cooking's fun. It's creative. I get to spend more time with my kids. This is all good. I love my kids. This is not a bad thing. Sure, you want to take us to this genderless utopia? I'll make that work. Doesn't matter if he is a man or if he is a genderless individual. If the system is consistent and predictable, men will be able to work with it. But this system, the one that we live in right now, men feel like they cannot win because it demands the sacrifices of manhood from the traditional model. You know, be strong, pay for everything, sacrifice yourself, protect her no matter what. But in terms of reciprocity, there is no equivalent duty that is expected of your wife because she's not a woman, she's a genderless individual. She can sing all day about your duty as a man, but if you suggest that she has a duty as a woman, then you are in serious trouble. Men can aim accurately. The problem is that we're trying to shoot a moving target. So if men could make it work in either of these systems, either the traditional model or the genderless model, which one should we go back to? Well, I would actually argue neither. I think that we can do better. We can create a new system with consistent rules and expectations that will allow us to learn from the other models, to borrow from them and create a new system where men and women can thrive as individuals and also as an expression of their gender. I'm going to spend the rest of the video laying out my vision for what that society would look like. If you're interested in more than just the problems, you want to hear about the solutions, then please come on over to Patreon. That's where I go into a lot more depth on these topics. I post the full-length versions of my videos. And remember the good news, if you want to keep watching this video right now and sign up to my Patreon, you'll get a 37% discount from now until October to celebrate my last few weeks of being 37.